Well, good morning, everyone. This is the fourth year in which we've been talking about recovery summer. At least the administration's been talking about recovery summer. But for too many Americans, there's really not much to celebrate. The White House, of course, will be holding an event next week on working families, but some of our members wanted to come together today to talk about some Republican proposals that could immediately be acted upon to improve the lives of working families who are struggling in the Obama economy. The problem we're facing is the Democratic majority leader is blocking these and dozens of House-passed jobs bills from even being considered here in the Senate. I've got a couple of proposals myself to help working families. One, the Working Parents Home Office Act, which I'm introducing today, and the Family Friendly and Workplace Flexibility Act, which Senator Ayotte and I have, and Senator Lee has a similar measure, which he's going to be talking about here today. The Working Parents Home Office Act bill that I'm going to introduce today would allow parents to deduct costs associated with a home office, even if that office contains a baby crib. Current law disallows the deduction if there's a crib in the office while the parent is working. These are just the kinds of things that could make a difference in people's lives now. And so with that, let me turn it over to Senator Thune and the rest of my colleagues for their observations about various proposals.
Well, thank you, Leader. As the Leader mentioned, we have a lot of ideas on the Republican side, and many of which are in legislation, some of which have passed the House of Representatives that actually would do something to alleviate the stress that's being felt by middle-income families across this country. Middle-income families are increasingly squeezed because, as the Leader mentioned, the recovery summer hasn't ever come for most middle-income families in this country. The President promised 4 years ago in 2010 that we were going to see the economy recover, and it's been anything but that for middle-income families across this country. If you look at the statistics, you've still got unemployment at historically high levels. The unemployment rate for young people is more than twice that of the national average. You've got young people who, between the ages of 16 and 34, 36% of them are living at home with their parents because there aren't good jobs out there. Household incomes are down by $3,500 since the President took office. You just see consistently this pattern of a sluggish economy, chronic high unemployment, and lower take-home pay for middle-income families in this country. And so that recovery summer has never materialized for middle-income families across this country. And what we have seen, however, is increased costs for almost everything in a family's budget, from the price for milk to gas to health care premiums and deductibles. Everything is costing more. College costs have soared for most families in this country. And as I said before, most families are working fewer hours and having lower take-home pay than they did when this President took office. And so we appreciate the fact that the President is going to have a summit, but it's several years too late in terms of actually doing anything about the problem. In the meantime, his policies have driven up the cost of everything, reduced take-home pay for most middle-income families in this country, and made matters economically worse. And so what we would suggest is it's time to change direction. And we have a number of our colleagues here in the Senate who have many proposals. You're going to hear from some of them here in just a minute that we believe would work effectively and address the challenge that's being felt by middle-income families across this country. And I want to mention one of those, and that's a bill that's been introduced by Senator Collins, which would restore the 40-hour work week in this country. Obamacare reduced the work week to 30 hours, and what that's meant for many families across this country is fewer hours worked, sometimes multiple jobs to make ends meet, and fewer jobs for people. And so we believe that going back to a 40-hour work week would allow people to work longer hours, make more money, more take-home pay, not have to work a fewer number of jobs just to make ends meet. And that's got bipartisan support. She introduced it along with Senator Joe Donnelly from Indiana. Like many of the bills that we're talking about today, it's something that enjoys support from both Democrats and Republicans, and is something that we think could be done now that actually would improve the plight and the economic circumstances for middle-income families in this country. And so rather than pay rhetoric to it, which is what the President likes to do, we'd actually like to focus on a record of accomplishment, actually doing some things that will bend the curve in the right direction rather than increasing costs for families and reducing incomes. Let's do something that actually reduces the cost of the things that we have out there and raises the incomes of families in this country. Because when you have a $3,500 decrease in your household income during the time that this president's been in office, it makes it very, very hard to keep up with higher energy costs, higher health care costs, higher food costs, higher college education costs, and that's exactly and precisely the dilemma that is being faced by middle-income families across this country today. So the Senator Collins 40-hour work week bill, we could get that on the floor. I think if we did, I bet we'd have a bipartisan vote for it, and we could pass it. And you're going to hear from some of my colleagues today other pieces of legislation that also enjoy bipartisan support, which, if put on the floor of the United States Senate, I believe would pass and would be effective in addressing the challenges that are being faced by middle-income families in this country. So I'm going to hand it off now to my colleague from Utah, Senator Lee, to talk about one of those bills.
So one bill that I've introduced to help middle-class American families deals with the constant struggle that many American families face, which is the effort to find a balance between work and life, work and family. American families are constantly struggling with this. They need to juggle their work demands and their desire to be with their kids and to run their household. And as a result, for many American families, time is the most important and sometimes the most fleeting commodity out there. But today, federal labor laws restrict the way moms and dads and everyone else can use their time. An hourly employee who works overtime is not allowed to take comp time, even if she prefers it. Even if she would like that, and even if her employer would agree, her employer is not allowed to offer it to her. Federal law precludes that. It sounds unfair, especially to parents. Now, how do we know it's unfair? Well, we know it's unfair because Congress gave a special exemption from these laws to government employees. This disparity is unacceptable. The same benefits, the same advantages that are available to government employees ought to be available to moms and dads, Americans of all stripes who work in the private sector. My bill would correct this inequity in the law and would restore some balance. This is an example of a common sense, incremental, conservative reform that I think would benefit all Americans. But it would especially benefit hardworking middle-class American moms and dads. I'll now hand the podium over to my colleague from Nebraska, Senator Deb Fischer.
Thank you, Mike. We all know that working families are continuing to struggle. We have a very stagnant economy. Families are worried, they're frightened, they're frustrated. And I believe that as Republicans, we have a number of ideas out there that can help families through this economy. They're good ideas. They offer opportunity, they offer flexibility, and truly they offer more security. And that's what families are looking for. One proposal that I put forward when we were talking about equal pay for equal work, it would guarantee equal pay for equal work. Women now are seeing their poverty rate rise by 13%. Women now are seeing their unemployment rate for young women rise nearly 13%. They're seeing lost wages. Women with a college degree, they've seen their income shrink by $1,400. We need to move forward with equal pay for equal work, but we need to make sure it's really going to address the problem. And that's why I've offered an amendment, the 4 Republican women have come together on, that reinforces our current law, that has that non-retaliation clause in it, and that really addresses an opportunity gap. This morning I also am dropping in a bill to help men and women start their own new businesses. America has sponsored microfinance programs across the world, and it has lifted thousands of people out of poverty, and I think it's time that we focus here at home in our own country and lift those people out of poverty, show them the American dream. They hold that American dream. They want to start their own businesses, and we need to help them do that. The SBA has a good program. It works. It has helped a number of people, but right now it's capped at $50,000. I think we need to raise that to $100,000 so it will help those families cover that first year of operation costs that they face in their businesses. It would also increase more accountability with reporting requirements, and it would encourage the SBA to promote that program. That's smart policy. That's common sense policy, and that's what I believe that the bills that I'm proposing and the ideas that my colleagues put forth would work, because it is smart policy and it's what the American people are looking for so they can find that security for their families. Next we have Senator Scott.
Good morning. Recently I decided that one of the challenges that we often face is we have policymakers speaking for people before we have policymakers speaking to people. So I decided to go work a couple shifts at different businesses. I worked at a Goodwill for a little while, and I worked at a Moe's Burrito Shop, and spent time just talking to the employees so that I could understand what their real needs were. I found it quite interesting and really almost inspiring in that so many employees, I found it inspiring, so many employees weren't looking for a handout, not even a hand up. They were looking for a solid foundation on which to stand. And as I talked to some of the folks in my age group, around 30, that wasn't supposed to be a joke.
I'm
Thank you
laughing.
very much. Appreciate that very much. Deb, we'll talk later, please. In their 40s as well. As I talked to those employees in their 40s, what they were saying were simple words. I need better training so that I can take advantage of the new jobs in the high-tech manufacturing world. And I thought to myself of the success in the House of passing the Skills Act. And here's a legislation which is really a solution. By enveloping or taking 35 different programs, many of them duplicative programs, and creating one workforce investment fund, we could provide more resources for more retraining so that those adult learners, those folks who are stuck in jobs that they would rather not have, but because they have and appreciate the dignity to work, they're doing those jobs and they're doing them happily. But they would love to have an opportunity to have the skills necessary to do a better job. And so they talked to me about the need for more retraining. I thought to myself, here's a chance for me to introduce a solution in the United States Senate called the Skills Act, which already passed in the House. I thought to myself that there are 4 million jobs today unfilled, 60,000 plus in my state unfilled. We asked the question, why are they unfilled? The answer is oftentimes too simple. Folks lack the specific requirements, the specific skills to fill those jobs. Imagine 4 million families sleeping better every night because they have better skills to take advantage of those 4 million openings. I thought to myself, if the Skills Act was able to take those 35 programs, many in duplication, and create that one workforce investment fund, how many more dollars would go into the pockets of those folks who will help create the economy of the 21st century? How many more Americans would be working today because they had the skills, the tools necessary, and that foundation on which to stand? I'm excited about what we're doing here today because I'm excited about the future of America. And I know that if we provide them with the resources to retrain, to be retrained, we'll find great success in our economy. And that is a good thing for all of us.